3-2-1 process is you have a thought. And you have a thought and you go, well, that's interesting. Or, gosh, is that possible? Or, wow, wouldn't that be fun? Or, I don't know, I've never tried that. Now that thought, if you embrace that thought and then you picture the thought, having an image or an imagination, to have that hold that image. Okay? Now, that's your process. That's number 3. That's number 3. And that's really your only work, your only big job in the process is to think it and see it. Okay? Now, you already have non-physical, which we've been clear. Non-physical goes right to work. It works out every detail. It finds it. It creates it. It sets up the genome so it can be. It works out every nuance. Not your work, not your job. Don't raise one finger toward it. Forget it. Let non-physical do what non-physical does. And that's orchestrating your thoughts. Okay? Once you have the thought, you're the human creator. Once you can see it in your mind, then non-physical goes to work on the details. Now, if you don't have any rules about it, it happens instantly. But if there are any rules whatsoever, you will not allow non-physical or anything else in creation to usurp your rules. Well, now that's another section, the rules section. That's a whole other topic. But let's say you have no rules or nothing to push against that process. Now, that's the 3. Now, number 2 is non-physical's role. They work all the details. They make the reservations. They set it all up. They get the car ready. They make the where you're going available. They get the corner room with the nice view. On your schedule, they work out everything. Now, one is where you're redefining. Do you want a blue Porsche convertible or do you want a red Porsche convertible? And that's the 1 stage, and that's just your preference. Do you want the camel interior or the sable interior or the gray interior? The car already is. You're just making the final selective choices. The cake's already done. It's already cooled. It's already iced. It's already on the little piece of thing. Your final direction is how large a piece of cake you're going to cut. That's all. It's the fine details. Now, when you get to that 1 process, the redefining, if you are ambiguous, just say, well, I don't care. I'll have one of each. But if you got rules about it, then you're going to get hung up in the details.
If we're doing number 3 and it's not happening, what's the workaround for that?
The first part is you don't have a workaround. You overlay. You start asking the question. If there's a degree of separation, who, what, when, where, and how, clean up on aisle 5 refers to one of those. And if they get all the power in the whole wide world, and they go, when did I get it? Well, you've always had it. Well, how did I get it? Well, you have it within your non-physical. Well, why do I have it? Well, because that's the way you chose it. Well, who's over it? Who's more powerful than me? No one. You're the most powerful one regarding your point of... See, those degrees of separation. And once you can get to a place where you soften all that, you overlay that constantly by eliminating the rules and regulations, then everything becomes possible. It's the essence of how creation is wrought right here, right now. There is no workaround. There's a place of, instead of thinking or wondering, then you know. And if you have to solve who, what, when, where, and how, it sometimes can be a very long, arduous journey. But if you somehow can go beyond that and overlay it to the point that you don't even notice, boom, no problem. It's instant. There is no time drag or delay. Anytime there's a delay, that's just you making sure.
Think it, see it, forget it. Yeah, okay.
Not everyone else does the forget it dynamic, and that slows down the creation. Think it, see it, forget it.
Think it, see it, forget it. Yeah, okay.
Not everyone else does the forget it dynamic, and that slows down the creation. Think it, see it, forget it.
Think it, see it, forget it. Yeah, okay.
Not everyone else does the forget it dynamic, and that slows down the Think it. See it. Forget it.
Think it, see it, forget it. Yeah, okay.
Not everyone else does the forget it dynamic, and that slows down the creation. Think it. See it. Forget it.
Think it, see it, forget it. Yeah, okay.
Not everyone else does the forget it dynamic, and that slows down the creation. Think it. See it. Forget it.
Think it, see it, forget it. Yeah, okay.
Not everyone else does the forget it dynamic, and that slows down the creation. Think it. See it. Forget it.
Think it, see it, forget it. Yeah, okay.
Not everyone else does the forget it dynamic, and that slows down the creation. Think it. See it. Forget it.
Think it, see it, forget it. Yeah, okay.
Not everyone else does the forget it dynamic, and that slows down the creation. Think it. See it. Forget it.
And life is supposed to be fun. But at the end of the day, what you need to recall and what you need to want to know, and when you know you can never unknow, is that everything in your world you created yourself. Every dynamic that is, you created. If it's got a name, you created it. And once you come to that place of power, if there's something that you don't care for, you can overlay it with one you do care for. And then you find yourself bebopping along, having fun, having joy, having contrast, preferring which flavor ice cream you like, eating as many chocolate cakes as you can slide down your throat hole, and having a marvelous, wonderful time. That's what it's supposed to be about. Folks get so tangled up in being so heavenly bound they're no earthly good. And then they find themselves confounded, and then they go, well, I'm just going to get me some cancer. The cancer's the only thing that's going to help me at this point. I can't see no other way out, and I'd rather go out with cancer before them divas get us. So, you know, it just makes it so much simpler after a little bit. So humans are deciding to transition out of their meat-sack body where their creativity or creation element lies, and they use that as their excuse to no longer enjoy the place of creating. Because it isn't about living. You are an eternal being. We don't care which aliens is fixing to come probe you rectally. You are eternal. And when you get that concept in your throat hole, it becomes great. And you can turn on your pineal gland and figure it all out real fast. Because then the labyrinth of your mind won't be used to confound you and offer every concept that you can consider other than the obvious of how did all this happen, how did it get here, who, what, when, where, how, and why, that you spend all day, every day trying to figure out, and you ain't no closer than you was when you separated yourself from your power the first time. So let's talk about it one more time. Life is supposed to be fun. But at the end of the day, what you need to recall and what you need to want to know, and when you know you can never unknow, is that everything in your world you created yourself. Every dynamic that is, you created. If it's got a name, you created it. And once you come to that place of power, if there's something that you don't care for, you can overlay it with one you do care for.
try it, and when they try it, they're going to go, get out. This is amazing. How is this? Okay. People have in their automobiles and in their world these, what they call keyless entry points, where you have these clickers that you can lock and unlock your car, crank it up, turn it on, do things with these clickers on your keychain.
Yeah, when you leave the car, you point your thing at the car, and the door locks.
Correct. Or if you're coming to your car,
Yeah, it opens.
you click it and it'll open, or open the trunk.
I know about those.
Okay, now, they have a proximity or a range in which they work. Do you agree? Because if there was no range, then you see, JW could have a clicker and it could line up with something you have at your house, and he could push the button and lock or unlock the doors of your house.
Right, so they program them to be limited.
Well, and they only have a certain frequency field of range that work, respond. Now, here's what's fun. You can be outside of range, meaning further away.
From the other person with the clicker.
Correct. Or the person with the clicker to his automobile.
Oh, okay.
And you can be outside of the range, because normally you have to be like in sight of your automobile relatively. And then that's how those work. Well, you can be outside of the bounds that are in the constraints of that working clicker, and you can place that clicker and have it touch your head. That's the thing on the top of your shoulders that your neck.
And you touch it, and you're not going to press the button. You're just going to touch your head.
You touch your head, and let's say you're way far away.
Yeah.
And you put it to your head, and you push the button while it's touching your head.
Yeah.
And you will more than triple your frequency range of what that clicker supposedly controls.
And you will open your car.
Wow, that's pretty neat. Your electromagnetics jumped into the clicker.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's the focus thing. And you'd say, well, why does that matter? Well, it doesn't. Well, why is it important? Well, it isn't. But it's fun, because then you can start activating just how powerful the quandary of your boundaries of your mind are.
Do you have to think the thought of what you intend?
No.
No, you just put it on your head and click it, and it'll work.
Further than it would otherwise.
So that brings in the idea there's no time and space, because the mind is interacting on the non-physical and maybe physical level way beyond what we measure.
It is more.
Now, right now, I could be thinking thoughts and affecting someone in Russia, someone in particular, who happens to be frequently aligned with me.
They don't have to be frequency aligned with you. But see, that would mean you'd have to line up with them.
Oh, okay, so they just happen to respond. Is there a reason why they respond and no one else does?
The resonance, the residue.
What causes that residue of resonance?
The symbiotic relationship between the physical and non-physical through the labyrinth of their own mind.
How can you explain why someone 1,000 miles away would respond to me and only that person?
The same way you have us on a radio show, and it goes out to many people, and some people are just catastrophically offended by it, and others are just go, wow, I have no idea what this non-physical thing is saying. I have no basis to have any clue that this even is, and yet something inside of me just really gets into this. There's a resonance. I don't even know what the words mean. And then he starts talking about these every dynamic of the body that science hasn't even necessarily figured out exactly yet. They got little...
Oh, wait, but who starts talking about that?
We do.
When you were talking on the show, right? You start providing some content, yeah.
And they want content, but it becomes over the head of most.
Yeah.
But they don't care about that. They still have a resonance with it, the same way your clicker resonates with your particle accelerator, if that's what you'd like to call it.
The clicker, not your Hadron Collider. The clicker, particle accelerator, the clicker in your hand for the car, right? Or are you shifting over to Hadron Collider?
No, in Hadron, we're talking about the head.
The Hadron rather than the Hadron. You're talking about the clicker on the head, right?
that.
Yeah, and you call it particle accelerator.
That field, that magnetic field that you have is, whether you accept it or not, like
and its
it or
dimensions are not measurable. And so
that's exactly correct. Good, very good. And that's a dynamic, and if that information that we just gave and we're playing with, if that brings you, Bob, into the notion, the place of grasping that you indeed have more power than you know, then you see that becomes an anomaly that you can use as a human creator, Bob, to validate just how fabulous this being empowered place feels.
then you understand that everything you're communicating is communicating all over the place, and there will be particles, people responding. That would explain why, the Snicker bars show up.
And not only do they show up, there's others that will engage them because of your salivation regarding them.
Yeah, like Jared gave us the new boogie board. So the blue.
Exactly.
Right when we need a new one.
Exactly.
Because there's all this communication going on.
It lined itself up on your behalf. Carolyn would have bought you one and brought it home, but to haul it would have just been silly.
These people, that portal, what do they experience when they go to another world? Do they travel around like us in our, quote, dreams when we're sleeping, go shopping in Bombay? What are they experiencing?
A blissful state of freedom.
Well, when you describe our trips at night, we go shopping in Bombay, we go to Pakistan, we go to South America, and Carolyn gets her in a knot about purchasing something, and I'm arguing over the price. These different little anecdotes happen. How could we anecdotalize what some of them are experiencing?
They have specific journeys that they have desirous to engage. Sometimes it's to figure out what to do back here.
Right.
Sometimes it's to see how a climactic experience will play out. You see, it's just without it flows.
But they've been doing this for a while. It's not their first time doing it.
Sure, you could do the same thing with how do people feel when they live in Michigan and they go to Florida for the winter.
Do they go to worlds that are exact replicas of our world?
No.
You can go to other worlds.
That's the point. You wouldn't go on vacation to Maui, Bob, because you're already in.
Yeah, but we go to Bombay, which is something we experience in this world, and we go to Bombay in our travelings at night.
Sure.
But they are purposely going to different worlds, not doubles of our world. Are we going to the parallel world Bombay, Carolyn, or are we going to the Bombay on this planet when we go to Bombay?
Parallel or Bombay.
And both.
We go to both. So these people, are they all ages, the 28 that did this? Or they have no time?
No, they're all two, Bob. They're all two.
No, well, what do they look like? What do they look?
They look like humans. They have eyes and heads.
What ages do they look like?
They look ageless, Bob.
Are you saying these are like Saint Germain people that are floating about that are really ascended and quite removed from your local Rotarians and Kiwanis people and local Freemasons?
But yet could fit right into your neighborhood and you would just think they were cool.
And are they some that were born in other worlds?
Some.
Yeah, so they're like those guys who were overseeing CERN. They come from other worlds. Now, we were talking about this today, Carol and I. The people in the parallel world, we're a parallel world for them, and they're a parallel world for us. And some of them can travel, but there are many people in the parallel world who are as oblivious as the ones around us here about the parallel world reality.
Well, of course, yes.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same ratio.
Well, same difference, yes.
So Ion is implying that 1/3 in previous statements of the world is parallel world occupants. They weren't born here. Is it a different percentage, like maybe 1/4 of the world's population, or you agree with the 1/3?
Yeah, we'll stay with the third.
Wilson! No, she wants to do Coldplay. Okay, Coldplay is fun, Robin. It's fun. That's what happens is you take the fingernails, either toenails or regular fingernails, and there's something of what those nails are made out of. What they're made out of is a type of collagen. and that is converted or changed into energy in an ascending human being. That's good, Robin. So now, that's the reason you save them. Now, here's how it works. You have, with the change in the environment, it allows the wavelengths to shift and change that makes a spiral or a spin. Okay, once you start this process, it's exomorphic. And once it begins, it starts. And the only outflow, or the exhaust from the Wilson capacitation, is water. And it's a very heavy water, so you have to be kind of careful about that. But it's a pretty heavy water, and it's great fun. About the size of an air conditioner, an 8 to 10 to 12 ton air conditioning unit, the chiller. It's about that size. There's different variations of it, and it'll run straight DC, AC, and you just plug it into your regular box. It'll go up to 3-phase, up to 4-phase. Doesn't seem to matter, but you have to be careful on the amperage, because it'll blow you up. You have to have a lot of at least two sets of breakers, because it's hot, meaning it's not an AC current where you had to have a transformer to reduce it down or to pull it. It's just hot. And it's fine, because if you look at the way smart houses are going, the way people are doing their living now, everything is either DC or converted to DC.
Can only ascending people with I cell in them run a Coldplay?
No. Once you start Coldplay, it runs.
Okay. And
so it'll
doesn't
run
have
for
to
anybody.
be...
You don't have to be an individual. It'll just run. It'll run with nobody. Okay.
And anyone can start it?
In time, they'll be able to. At first, it's a bit daunting, because when you start charging Wilson, you have to. There's a line procedure you have to do. But see, we've only started a few, because everyone we've ever started is still going. So there's not much to do, but it's a several step. Somebody else will do it for them. There wouldn't be like a YouTube about how to do it.
No, we think that. So it doesn't have to be an ascended person.
And they're having great luck with it. They're having a great luck with it going. The Wilson actually fitting into the hood of the car, so it operates the vehicle too. So that's good.
I spent the month of July in Atlanta, Georgia, where JW lives. He's the billionaire that ION sometimes comes through. ION doesn't have to be channeled, but it started off channeling through JW. So we met with the Department of Homeland Security. You brought up my Coldplay. You're aware of that. And
You mentioned when I first reached out, in this most recent.
Oh, did I tell you? I told you about this.
Yeah. You mentioned. Well, I asked, what's up with ION?
Right. So so it's good to get this on the recording. So I spent a month meeting with the Department of Homeland Security and other government institutions, because if you have something like we have, they can declare that bombs can be made from it, so they have the right to take it for national security reasons. But we're aware of that, and we're not going to let them have it, but we're still going to release it. So we're negotiating how we're going to do this. And while I was at JW's in July, I was looking at the TV show The Blacklist. You ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so you look at episode 1, season 1, episode 1, the pilot episode, and this supreme smart criminal, non-criminal guy comes in. He turns himself into the FBI, and he knows way more than them about the crime networks around the world. And so he's intimidating the FBI bureaucrats. They don't know what to. If this guy, took over here, we'd be out of a job because he knows more. That was exactly what we went through. We knew more than their physicists and blah blah blah, because we made the technology and they don't know how it's made. And the secret is we got ION helping us. So it was exactly that scene where we know more than them, yet they need our stuff because the grid's collapsing, but they will lose their authority and their edge in what they think they know if they give in to us. So it's a very interesting drama that is shown in that episode. So if you want to see what we went through in the month of July in Atlanta, look at that. Just Google, go on some network, Netflix.
Yeah, right here, The Blacklist with James Spader.
Yeah, so just look at the whole thing, episode 1, season 1, episode 1.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about, what you're doing. Now, why am I bringing this up?
I asked you when this change is going to happen. And you said,
yeah. So, the change, now we're not talking and bragging about what we have. We're saying, look, here it is. What are you going to do about it? So that's the beginning of the implementation of it. And this stuff's so powerful. When we first developed it, it caused earthquakes. See, you occasionally have some free energy guy say, I got something here. Look at this. It proves something. Ponds and placement had it. But I now know if they're not causing earthquakes, it ain't really as significant as the person thinks it is. That this stuff is so revolutionary, it tears apart the fabric of maybe a lot of what people's memes and thoughts have congealed, and that has to be torn apart. So you have the physicists who are walking around. They know what we're doing. What's his name? Brief History of Time, Hawking. He started saying crazy stuff before he died because he was listening to us and trying to fit it into his theories.
Thank you very much.